Hello and welcome back. A very good morning to all of you in Mumbai, different cities in India, and of course those who are overseas will be watching this video at some point of time or the other. Now, every morning I bring you new videos. This morning again I bring you a very different video. I've had a lot of queries coming to me saying, Arthur, you're from the contact center industry, you're from the BPO industry, you're from the sunrise industry. Why don't you share all those BPO formulas with us so that it remains as a repository with us? Well, that's not a problem. I'll break that into three parts. This is the first part. So when I talk about BPO formulas, there's so many to it, but I'll go with what I found very important. First is the occupancy percentage, which is calculated as ACD time, which is automatic call distribution time, plus ACW, after call wrap up time, plus other time, plus the hold time, divided by summation of staff time minus aux time into 100. So I'll repeat this again. ACD time plus ACW plus other time plus hold time divided by summation of staff time minus aux time into 100. Now there is average call handling time, ACHT, is equal to ACD time plus ACW time plus average hold time plus average other time plus total calls handled during that time. Okay. Now you have the next one coming as, what's the formula for calls abandoned after 10 seconds? So calls abandoned after 10 seconds is total calls abandoned minus calls abandoned before 10 seconds. Total calls abandoned minus calls abandoned before 10 seconds. What is the formula for calls abandoned before 10 seconds? Calls abandoned before 10 seconds is calculated as total calls abandoned minus calls abandoned after 10 seconds. I told you what ACHT time is. ACD plus hold time plus ACW time plus other time divided by total calls handled or answered during that period or that interval. Calls abandoned after and before 10 seconds. Okay. So calls abandoned after and before 10 seconds is total calls abandoned minus calls abandoned less than 10 seconds. So total calls abandoned after and before 10 seconds is total calls abandoned minus calls abandoned less than 10 seconds. Utilization is the summation of staff time minus aux time divided by staff time. Service levels. How do you calculate your service levels? Calls answered within 20 seconds divided by summation of calls offered minus calls abandoned within 20 seconds. I'll repeat. How you calculate service levels? Calls answered within 20 seconds divided by summation of calls offered minus calls abandoned within 20 seconds. How do you calculate average calls per CSR? Calls answered divided by productive logins. So total calls answered divided by productive logins. How do you calculate average logins per day? Total staff time, that is, the total staff time is about 8 hours 45 minutes as per the client. So average logins per day is total staff time divided by 8 hours 45 minutes. How do you calculate the average speed of answer? Average speed of answer is calculated differently, so I'll let that pass because that is something which is system generated also. Utilization time, I told you, is the summation of staff time minus aux time divided by staff time. Occupancy again, ACD plus ACW plus other time plus hold time divided by summation of staff time minus aux time. Now repeat call analysis. How do you calculate repeat call analysis? A very important measurement or a particular parameter which we measure in the telecoms or in inbound customer service. So repeat call analysis is the total number of repeat calls. You have the total number of repeat calls for that particular interval. So it's a 15-minute interval minus the first call divided by total calls answered. So total number of repeat calls for that interval minus the first call divided by total calls answered for that particular interval. Shrinkage is calculated as base requirement, number of logins required, divided by 1 minus the shrinkage percentage. I'll repeat that again. Base requirement divided by 1 minus, in brackets, the shrinkage percentage, double close brackets. First call resolution is calculated by the number of calls resolved at the first attempt divided by total calls answered into 100. Number of calls resolved at first attempt divided by total calls answered. How do you calculate your CSAT? Customer satisfaction scores, your customer satisfaction call, number of yes calls divided by the total calls answered. Then you have net promoter scores, as we call it as NPS. Percentage of promoters minus percentage of detractors is what gives you your net promoter scores. Okay, I'll go ahead. Now you have the agent utilization rate, which is calculated as ACD plus ACW plus idle time, which is calculated in seconds, divided by total paid hours worked. I'll repeat that. Agent utilization rate is ACW plus ACD plus idle time divided by total paid hours worked. Cost per contact is total ACD calls for that hour divided by agent hourly rate. Agent hourly rate is calculated as approved paid hours into rate per hour. Abandoned percentage is calculated at number of calls abandoned divided by total calls answered. Abandoned percentage less than 10% is calculated as total calls answered minus number of calls abandoned greater than 10 seconds. Your seat utilization is calculated as head count divided by effective seats. Seat utilization calculated as head count divided by effective seats. Okay, suppose your head count is 100 and your effective seats is needed is 60. So your seat utilization will come down to 1.66. Anything up to 1.80 is good enough. Anything above that, you need to rework it. Okay, I'll also take you through a few of Six Sigma formulas here, and that will take a minute. Total opportunities, which is mentioned as TOP, is calculated as the total number of units checked into the number of opportunities of failure. DPO, defects per opportunity, is calculated as total defects divided by total opportunities. Defects per unit, DPU, is calculated as number of defects divided by number of units checked. DPMO, a favorite, defects per million opportunities, okay, is calculated as number of defects into 1 million divided by number of units into the number of opportunities. Y is equal to yield, is the total batch size divided by the total number of participants who passed. So Y is the yield. Yield is calculated as the total batch size divided by the total number of participants who passed. YRT, yield rolled throughput, which is calculated as YRT equated to Y1, that is yield 1 into yield 2 into yield 3, which gives you a rolled throughput yield. PPM, parts per million, is calculated by 1 minus yield, close brackets, into 10 million. Failure mode effect analysis, FMEA, is calculated as severity into occurrence into detection will give you the RPN number, risk priority number, and the highest RPN number needs to be worked in that order. Okay, so coming next is your sigma value. Sigma value is calculated as ZLT plus sigma value is calculated as ZST, sigma short term, plus 1.5. So sigma long term is calculated as ZST plus 1.5. Gauge R&R is calculated as EV plus AV. Equipment variation plus appraiser variation. Alright, I've tried to cover as much as I can in terms of formulas. I'll have another part to this, so do like, subscribe and press the bell icon for all future notification of such videos which I will bring to you to educate your knowledge, enrich your knowledge, upgrade and update you further, so that you build on some more skills and also get clarity on concepts and jargons. You take care of yourself, stay indoors, stay safe, and until then, you take care. Bye-bye.